Alright, peace to the 12. Overdue video. Y'all see the title, Black Before Rome. Once again, another controversial video. But just like I always do, I'm going to show my receipts. I'm going to get some historical books from historical authors. I'm going to get some pictures, and I'm going to get some scriptures. Alright, I'm also going to break down certain words dealing with Greeks and all that too later on in the video. Alright, so without further ado, let's get straight to it. And also when I made this thumbnail, I decided to go with this one, but I thought this one looked better, but it doesn't really get what the topic's about, being it's Black Before Rome. This guy looks more Roman than this guy, even though Romans were known for not really having facial hair. But anyway, whatever. Alright, so who are the Etruscans? Because I said Black Before Rome. For those of you who don't know, the place that later was known as Rome used to be known as Etruria. Alright, and it was governed by the Etruscans. Okay, so who are the Etruscans? Etruscan, member of ancient people of Etruria, Italy, between the Tiber and Amo rivers west and south of the Apennines, whose urban civilization reached its height in the 6th century BCE. Many features of Etruscan cultures are adopted by the Romans, the successors to power in the peninsula. So the Romans adopted a lot of the Etruscan thought processes and philosophies. Okay, now when you type in Google and you look up modern books, I guess you could say, we go to Google, you look up modern books, this is what they'll tell you what the Etruscans look like. Okay, they'll say the Etruscans, pre-Roman civilization in Italy. The Etruscans, they'll they'll have you believe that this is what the Etruscans look like. But of course, this is false and fake information. Okay, now let's go into the history books. This is a man by the name of William Boyd Dawkins, a Caucasian man. William Boyd Dawkins wrote a book in 1880, the 1800s, 1880. Early man in Britain and his place in the tertiary period. William Boyd Dawkins. Let's see what William Boyd Dawkins had to say about the Etruscans. Okay, this is page 323, the Iberic element in Spain. This is page 323. This is once again the book, Early Man in Britain and his place in the tertiary period. Pay attention. Okay, from the intimate manner in which they are associated with the Iberians by classical writers, coupled with their agreement in small stature and swarthy complexion. The word swarthy means black. I'll get that in a minute. Okay. And so we can say, well, actually, swarthy can mean somebody with a tent. Whatever, I'm going to get the definition in a minute. But, in small stature and swarthy complexion, it may be inferred with tolerable certainty that they related to each other. Okay? As the Frank to the Goth or the Dane to the Norman, and that, look, they belong to the same non-Aryan branch of the human race. Non-Aryan is a fancy word of saying non-Caucasian. We know that the Aryans is a fake term that they like to use. The Edomites like to use a fake term. Aryan is a word they like to use, which, a lot of people associate with blonde hair, blue eyes. Another fake term they like to use is Indo-European. Okay? But anyway. But what he's saying, they're not Aryan, meaning they're not Caucasian. Okay? And just to prove that, let's go to the definition of Aryan. Aryan, 1600s. Comparative. Indo-European, replacing Indo-European, Indo-Germanic, Caucasian, Japhetic. And no, they are not Japhites, because the Caucasian is not the original inhabitant of Rome. I did a video on that. I think it was titled what was it titled? White people are not from Rome ? I think that's what the video was titled. But anyway, we're just gonna mosey on down. Okay? It also by no means improbable that the small swarthy Etruscans, the black Etruscans, swarthy means black. Let's do that right now, actually. Swarthy, dark colored, especially of skin. Schwarz, black person. Black, swarthy, black, see, swarthy. Perhaps originally a code to refer to black servants. Okay, blacks. That's what swarthy goes into. So all these people, I was talking about a guy with a tan, and listen. But it doesn't matter, because I'm going to prove that they were black without a shadow of doubt in a minute, the Etruscans. Small swarthy Etruscans whose empire extended in the earliest times recorded by history north of the Alps into Tyrol, and who held a dominion over also over Lombardy, belong to the same non-Aryan stock, which means non-Caucasian stock. since they were contendments and were driven away from the ancient possessions by the same invading peoples. Okay? Now we're going to go down to here. Etruria. No, we're going to go. In my belief, the Iberians of France and Spain, the Solars of Wales, and the Ligures of southern Gaul and southern Italy, and the small, dark Etruscans are to be looked upon as ethnological islands isolated by successive invasions. Now watch this. This is the part to pay attention to. Pointing out that if we could go deep enough in past time, we should find that the whole of Europe was inhabited solely by swarthy, non-Aryan population. So the whole of Europe was at one point in time inhabited by so-called blacks. And no, they did not evolve white skin like they like to tell you. Okay? But, and let me see if I can get another thing pulled up real quick. Proving that. Even Google tell you that. See if I can get it real fast. Bear with me 1 second. I got so much information. Did I include it? I don't know. It's somewhere in this video for sure. Oh, here it is. Okay, so he said the whole of Europe was inhabited solely by a swarthy, non-Aryan population. Even modern people will tell you that. Google. It says the first people of Europe were black. This is Google. Scientific Research Publishing. The archaeological, anthropological, and genetic evidence indicated that the first Europeans were dark-skinned, sub-Saharan Africans who carried mtDNA haplogroup N and Y chromosome C6 into Europe. So the first inhabitants of Europe were dark-skinned sub-Saharan Africans according to these people. Now, do I believe that they were really so-called Africans? No, I do not. But they were so-called black. Okay? So, non-Aryan population. Okay? And this is Etruscan civilization. The culture was renowned in antiquity for its rich mineral resources and major Mediterranean trading power. Okay? And look, what ethnicity were the Etruscans? Now, this is funny because I'm going to deal with the Greeks a little bit too. Even though I feel like I'm going to give the Greeks their own separate video at another time. But I'm going to touch on the Greeks in this video. Specifically, the character known as Hercules. Okay? It says, what ethnicity were the Etruscans? Greek writer considered the father of history that the Etruscans were actually Greeks who had migrated to Italy from western Anatolia. Okay, so he's saying the Etruscans are actually Greeks. Now, you're going to find out that the ancient Greeks did not look how you think they looked. But anyway, back on the term swarthy means black person. We'll go on even further. Samuel Johnson's Dictionary, 1755 edition. This is in the year 1755, Samuel Johnson's Dictionary. It says swarthy, dark of complexion, black, dusky, tawny. As an example, set me where on some pathless plain. The swarthy Africans complain. So the Africans are called swarthy. Okay? Now, the Etruscans were also known as the people of Etruria. Etruscan member of an ancient people of Etruria, Italy, between the Tiber and Amo rivers, west and south of the Apennines. Okay? So the Etrurians. Now, going to another historian. Once again, I said I was going to tell you, I was going to prove to you without a shadow of a doubt that the first inhabitants of Rome, which is Etruria, were so-called black. Let's go to another historian. Guy I use frequently. Godfrey Higgins, magistrate Godfrey Higgins, was born in 1772. He was born in the 1700s. Godfrey Higgins was an English magistrate and landowner, a prominent advocate for social reform. He was a historian. You see that? Historian and antiquarian. He wrote concerning ancient myths. Godfrey Higgins, he was an historian. This is what he had to say in his book, Anacalypsis. His book, Anacalypsis, page 216. We're going to go to the highlighted portion. Okay? It states, Mr. Franklin makes an observation, which is new to me, that the ancient Etrurians had the countenances of Negroes, the same as the images of Buddha in India. Okay? So he said the Etrurians, we know the Etruscans inhabited Etruria. The ancient people of Etruria were the Etruscans. He says that the ancient people, the ancient Etrurians, had the countenances, the complexions of Negroes. Okay, and when he says the same image of Buddha in India, yeah, because for those of you who don't know, the original Buddha was so-called black. This is a picture of the black Buddha, and this is a so-called African. Okay, same ear style, same hairstyle. Okay, that's because the first Buddha was black. All right, this hairstyle that they usually depict, and this is a picture of a people of color in European history. So this is a person of color, so-called black man. Look at his hair. This is a picture of Buddha. Okay, as well as this. This hairstyle is known as the Bantu knot. Okay, the original Buddha was wearing the hairstyle known today as Bantu knots. The ancient people of Asia were black. There are numerous Greek and Roman records about these Ethiopians, black people living from Africa to India. Buddha was not a fat Asian white man as we were taught today. Yeah, these are known as Bantu knots, and the original Buddha was a so-called black man. I went more into detail on this in the title, India Was Black. In fact, I did this video. So if you're looking for more information on that, check that one out. Alright, but the Etruscans, the people of Etruria, had the countenances of Negroes. Okay? Look, Etruria. I typed in Etruria. Etruscan civilization. The Etruscan civilization was developed by people of Etruria. So the Etrurians had the countenance of Negroes. The Etrurians were so-called black people. Okay? Now, some people say that they're Japhites. You know, I've said that before. But I've also heard people say that they were Shemitic. Which, if this is true, which I don't know if it is, about the Greeks being the Etruscans, well, then they would be. But we're going to touch on the Greeks later. But, yeah, the Etruscans. And these are all fake images, because we already know they said the Etruscans were so-called black. That's what they said. Those two historians. So this would be, Etruria, this would be fake news. Like Trump says, that is fake news. It is totally fake news, made up, fake. Okay? And here's a picture of an Etruscan in 400, 300 BC. 400 through 300 BC, an Etruscan. Looks like a so-called Samoan. Etruscan. Terracotta relief, 600 BC. Okay? He's got the so-called Negro nose and the lips. Okay? Here's another picture of an Etruscan Antefix, 500 BC. The first Romans were black people called the Etruscans. Read the full history, even though Caucasians disagree. That's right. That's why I'm here. And not all Caucasians disagree, because this Caucasian Godfrey Higgins in the 1700s didn't disagree. Okay, William Boyd Dawkins in the 1800s didn't disagree. All right, so there were some of them telling the truth. Now let's go to Anacalypsis page 173, highlighted portion. Check this out. He states, Osiris and his bull were black. All the gods and goddesses of Greece were black. You see that? At least this was the case with Jupiter, Bacchus, Hercules, Apollo, Ammon, the goddess Venus, Isis, Hecate, Diana, Juno, Matisse, Ceres, Sybil are black. The Motamamia is black. Is the configurer at Rome in the Motifascion. Antiquity explained. So he's telling you that all these so-called Greek gods, which are fake gods, because there's only one God, which is the Most High Yahawah. But anyway, he's telling you that all these Greek gods originally were black and depicted as black. Okay? And the one I'm going to be focusing on is Hercules. He said Hercules were all the gods and goddesses of Greece were black, and he said Hercules, right? Well, we're going to be focused on Hercules with this fake ass image. But Hercules, like Eddie Murphy said, Hercules. Well, didn't they have a movie? And this is because they always show you the truth hidden in films sometimes. I ain't going to say always, but a lot of times, oftentimes, they show you the truth in films. And people just say, oh, they're blackwashing and appropriating all that other shit. You know, they be talking, clack and whatever, making a Reddit reviews and whatnot. But Hercules, which is played by Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and Dwayne The Rock Johnson is a so-called black man. His father is black and his mother is Samoan. So Hercules was an accurate depiction, even though in reality he was probably darker than Dwayne Johnson. Because once again, Hercules, all the gods and goddesses of Greece were black. This is according to a Caucasian man by the name of Godfrey Higgins in the 1700s. Now, that means that the comic book Hercules, as well as the animated cartoon Hercules, is fictional, fake news, false. Okay, and all these people that LARP as Hercules, they're LARPing. What is LARPing? When someone is pretending to be something they're not. Can involve lying on social media, internet, or lying in real life, often using a derogatory sense. A lot of people out here are LARPing. Alright, and dealing with Hercules. And I don't know if this is an accurate bust of Hercules, but I just typed in a black Hercules statue. These popped up. This is pottery of the black Hercules. And notice they have so-called Caucasians, yet they have a black person here depicting Hercules. Okay, but guess what? Guess what? Going back to the scriptures. Guess what Hercules is compared to? Here's what Hercules is compared to. God Figures Apocalypse, page 300 and what's that? 323. Guess what he's compared to? Hercules and Samson, the same is the chapter name, right? Several of the early Christian fathers, and along with them, Syncellus, acknowledged the identity of Samson and Hercules, who they say was copied by the Gentiles from the Bible. Okay? So Samson and Hercules are the depictions of the same person. That's because Hercules is a bastardized version of Samson. Because the people who worshipped Hercules were foreign Israelites. Okay, specifically like we go to the Spartans. I'll do a video on them at another time. But the Spartans go back to the tribe of Dan, to my knowledge. And the Spartans, yes, the original Spartans were, yes, so-called black. I'll do that when I do the video. But look, he's saying Samson and Hercules are the same thing. So if Hercules was a so-called black man, then what the hell you think Samson was? And look, in the films they had actor playing. I'm playing the original superhero in the Blockbuster series, The Bible, Nonzo Anozie. He played Samson with dreadlocks. Okay. And the show Invincible, they have somebody known as Black Samson. Another example of them showing you the truth in fiction. Black Samson movie. I don't know nothing about that, but yeah. So Hercules and Samson would be black by default. And I already know someone's gonna go, look, it's a black Hebrew Israelite. Even though we don't call ourselves black, black is not a race, black is a color that's given to us. And even this brother right here, who this idiot C.L. Willis did this, I guess it's a hit piece, I don't know, but black Hebrew Israelites debunked, deflated, and exposed. Well, I'm about to debunk your statement. You call this man black. When you look at the depiction of this man, he's clearly brown skinned. Okay, he's clearly brown skinned. He's not the color of his headband. So, but go ahead and clack in your comments. I love when y'all leave comments because it gets my video in the algorithm even more. Okay, now for all you people that say, oh, that's black Hebrew Israelites. Wait, hold up, wait a minute, right? According to the Mishnah, which I don't believe in, but a lot of Jewish people think it's credible. In the Mishnah, in the Nagayim, or the Nagim, I don't know how you say it, Nagayim, Dr. Joshua Coate right here, Nagayim 2:1, it says the bright spot in German appears as dull white, and the dull white spot in the Ethiopian appears as bright white. Now watch this. Rabbi Ishmael says the children of Israel are like boxwood. The children of Israel are like boxwood, neither black nor white, but an intermediate shade. Yeah, this brother's not black, he's brown, an intermediate shade. Okay? And this is a picture of boxwood. Now you say this is stained. All right, this is boxwood. You say it's stained boxwood. Here are pictures of boxwood. Brown. Okay? Well, black people are different shades of brown. We're not really black. African American skins. This is Google. Different shades of African Americans. African American skin varies in its tones and shades, which extend between caramel, almond, hazelnut, toffee, java, espresso, ebony, and deep ebony. Okay? There is a thicker dermis, middle layer of the skin, which translates to higher levels of college levels of the skin. Okay? These are all different shades. They're all different shades of brown, so-called black people. Okay? Now, he said the children of Israel are like boxwood, right? Well, here's a picture of boxwood lumber, cookwoods. Think outside the box. Boxwood and box elder duo. Boxwood. Okay? Why do black people have different skin color than the majority of the world's population? That's right. Black people calling all different shades of brown. Shades of black skin. Okay? If that wasn't enough for you, oh, well, that's the Mishnah. You say you don't believe in the Mishnah. Well, let's go to the Torah. Okay? In the Bible. Old Testament. Exodus 2 and 11. Really, I'm just going to go to the point. Okay? I'm going to go to the point. Exodus 2 and 16. It says, now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water and filled the troughs to water their flocks, their father's flocks. And the shepherds came and drove them away, but Moses stood up and helped them and watered their flock. So Moses went and he helped them Midianites, right? And when they came to Reuel their father, he said, how is it that you are come so soon today? Watch this. And they said, an Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds, and also drew water enough for us and watered the flock. So they thought that Moses was an Egyptian, probably because of his attire, and also Moses looked like an Egyptian. Okay, now the Egyptians were so-called black. I did a video on that recently titled The Proof of Our Origins. Someone would say, well, actually Egyptians were looking Arabs and yada yada. Well, hold on. Now, Moses was confused with an Egyptian. There's an account where Joseph is confused with an Egyptian that I didn't include. And Paul was also confused with an Egyptian. We go to Acts, the 21st chapter, and the 38th verse. Art not thou that Egyptian which before these days made us an uproar and led us out into wilderness 4,000 men that were murderers? So he thought that Paul was an Egyptian. Watch what Paul says. But Paul said, I am a man which am a Jew of Tarsus, a city in Sicilia, or Cilicia, a citizen of no mean city, and I beseech you, suffer me to speak unto the people. So Paul corrected him, no, I'm not an Egyptian, I am a Jew. Okay, but once again, they were compared to the Egyptians. Well, this is a man in the 1700s, 1783. This is a man by the name of Constantine Francois de Chassabeuf. Voyage in Syria and in Egypt. Okay, 1700s. This is what he had to say. Shout out to Kuele Micah. That's where I got this insert from in this letter or book he wrote. This is what he had to say. On seeing that head, typically Negro in all its features, I remembered the remarkable where Herodotus says, as for me, I judge the Colloquians to be a colony of the Egyptians because like them, they are black with woolly hair. So he says the Egyptians were black with woolly hair. In other words, the ancient Egyptians were true Negroes of the same type as all native-born Africans. So this is what this guy had to say. He said the Egyptians were black. Now look what he says. Just think that this race of black men today are our slave and the object of scorn is the very race to which we owe our arts, sciences, and even the use of speech. So that's what he had to say about them so-called black Egyptians, who were black, by the way. And he says, like the true Negro, right? Well, you go to the term Negro, black skin in Africa, but what? Nominative. So Negro, see Niger. Okay? Niger is an African nation. There's an African nation country known as Niger, and the term Niger is Latin for the word black. But what if I told you the term Niger was actually in the Bible? This word Niger is in the Bible. Acts 13:1. Now then there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers, as Barnabas and Simon, that was called Niger, and Lucius of Cyrene, and Manaen, which had been brought up with Herod the Tetrarch and Saul. So Simon was a prophet. He was an Israelite, and he was called Niger. All right, Niger means black, but let's go to the Bible dictionary. Easton Bible Dictionary. Niger, black. A surname of Simon. He was probably so called from his dark complexion. Niger equals black. And the word Niger is not how you really say it. The word how you say Niger is really the N word. Because look, Niger, Strong's definition. Niger. Now, yep. Niger. Of Latin origin, black. Niger. A Christian. Niger. Okay, black. So really the word Niger means Niger, which is the black, which was really what it means. Which just means black. See, nowadays the N word is a derogatory term, but originally it just meant the term black. Alright, and Phineas, in the scriptures, Phineas, who's the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron. Well, the word Phineas goes back to the word night, which goes back to the word Negro. Phineas, mouth of brass, Panahas, the name of 3 Israelites. Egyptian, Panasi, the Negro. According to, yes, see that? The Negro. Phineas, Panahas, Panahasi. Okay? Let me quote another guy. About the Egyptians. This is John Francois Champollion, born in 1790. He wrote a letter to his brother. Okay? Letter to Jacques Joseph Champollion Figac. This is what he said. We find, this shout out to Kula Mike again. This is his excerpt. We find their Egyptians and Africans. We find their Egyptians and Africans represented in the same way, which could not be otherwise. But the Asians and the Europeans present significant and curious variants. So he's saying the Egyptians and Africans represented in the same way, and yet Asians and Europeans try to present them with other curious variants. Okay, so he's saying Egyptians and Africans were both the same because they're both so-called black. And if you can find out who the Egyptians are, you know who the Israelites are, which were so-called black as well. This is another thing that this guy wrote. Letters of Egypt. I'm going to read it. It's in French. I can't really pronounce that. Jean-François Champollion. He states, the first tribes that inhabited Egypt, that is the Nile Valley between the Cyrene and Cataract and the sea, came from Abyssinia to Sennaar. The ancient Egyptians belonged to a race quite similar to the Kanas or Barbarous, president inhabitants of Nubia. Okay, the Nubians were so-called black. Okay? In the Copts of Egypt, we do not find any of the characteristics, features of an ancient Egyptian population. So he's saying in the Copts, which are the current people of Egypt, we don't find the original Egypt race. This is what he's going to say why. The Copts are the result of crossbreeding with all the nations that have successfully dominated Egypt. It is wrong to seek them in principal features of the old race. So once again, and by the way, this dude right here, Jean-François Champollion, he's known as the father, the founding father of Egyptology, which is what they use today. All these Egyptologists. Okay, and here's a picture of the Copts. They're just hybrids, mixed. Okay, here's a picture of Americans. This is Drake. Okay, Drake is the product of a so-called black father and a Caucasian Jewish woman. All right, an Amalekite. He's a hybrid. This is a North African. Okay, you see, Drake and the North African have a lot of similarities. Okay, hybrids, so-called mulatto, but you are who your father is according to the scriptures. For more information on this, I did a video titled The Original Arab. You can go watch that for more detail on that. Now, people say, well, what are you talking about? We're talking about the Etruscans. Look, man, I go off tangents when I want to, man, because it's my channel. All right, this is Picture History of Jewish Civilization. It's a book, Picture History of Jewish Civilization, written by a Caucasian Jewish man, Israeli art historian, Bezalel Narkis. Okay, he died in 2008 in Jerusalem. This is a Jewish, Caucasian Jewish man. He wrote this book, Picture History of Jewish Civilizations. Now, look what's in this book. By the way, this book is $390 or $850, depending on where you go. In this book, these are the pictures of the Israelites. Shout out to the brother Eliah Israel, or Yasharel. All right. These are the pictures in this book of the Israelites who were in bondage in Egypt. They're black with afros. So-called black people with afros. I mean, you know, once again, he wrote this. Okay, so-called black people with afros. An afro is a full bushy hairstyle worn by some people of African ancestry. Afro, African, so-called black. Okay? What does Zondervan have to say about the Negroes, right? What does Zondervan have to say about the Negroes? Another Caucasian. Founded in 1930. He wrote a book, and I believe this edition is 1993. Zondervan wrote the Compact Bible Dictionary, where he says, Ham, he became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. Progenitor of the dark races, the so-called really dark blacks. But he excluded the Negroes. Okay? So we are not Africans. You so-called African Americans, you are not, or the bulk of you so-called African Americans are not even actually African. Now we can go with the West African slave trade, all right, because there are parts of West Africa, Central Africa, and sprinkles of other parts of Africa where there are still Israelites there, okay? Now, so what are you saying? Now, I'm going to get back to the subject on Hercules, right? Back to the subject on Hercules. Now, look, could we just get back to the original subject? Well, here we go. This is 50 to 79 BC. So-called black person. This is a white dude. Now, this guy is supposed to represent Hercules. All right, and he's assed out. Put some clothes on, brother. Even though his hair is, you know, weird looking, whatever, you know. Now, Apocalypse is page 314. Or is that 324? I can't tell. Damn mosquito bite. But, where to go down? In this time lived Samson, who was called Hercules by the Greeks. So Samson was called Hercules by the Greeks. And we know Hercules was black. We already showed that. Let's go back. Let's prove that. Let's go back again. For those that forgot. You know. Those that forgot. Osiris and his bull were black. All the gods and goddesses of Greece were black. And that includes Hercules. Okay? And these are fake gods. Once again, there's only one true God. And his name is Yahawah. Okay? Now, back to it. In this time lived Samson, who was called Hercules by the Greeks. Hercules was black. That means Samson was black. Okay, check this out. They have 2 feet that resemble each other. They have a lot of feet that resemble each other, but I'm just going to get the rope example. Page 327. Hercules is made prisoner by the Egyptians who want to sacrifice him. But while they are preparing to slay him, he breaks loose and kills them all. Samson tied with new ropes by the armed men of Judah. He's given to the Philistines, and he breaks the ropes and kills the Philistines. Here's an account of him breaking the rope in Judges 16:10. And Delilah said unto Samson, Behold, thou hast mocked me and told me lies. Now tell me, I pray thee, wherewith thou mightest be bound. And he said unto her, If they bind me fast with new ropes that never were occupied, then shall I be weak and be as another man. So they tied up Samson with ropes. Delilah therefore took new ropes and bound him therewith, and said unto him, The Philistines be upon thee, Samson, and there were liars in wait abiding in the chamber. And he brake them from off his arms like a thread. So just like Hercules, Samson broke those ropes like a thread. Okay, and even in that movie, he did something with chains. Hercules did, played by The Rock. He said, I am Hercules. And he broke them chains, breaking the ropes. This is, once again, Dwayne The Rock Johnson's dad, a so-called black man, specifically a black Nova Scotian. The black Nova Scotians paid a high contribute to the sport known as hockey. Even though hockey today is viewed as a Caucasian sport, the black Nova Scotians created things like the slap shot, okay, which is used in hockey. Understand that, okay? Understand that. Now read it on. He's going to tell you, he's going to go again and tell you that, yes, Hercules was black, okay? Hercules was black. Hare Krishna, this is the black. We're going to go down to here. In addition to all the other circumstances to identify between Krishna and Hercules is the fact that they were both blacks. So Krishna and Hercules were both black. Again, I did a video on the so-called black people from India. I did a video on that. It was titled India Was Black in Fact. For more information on that. Damn, I'm spitting bars. But Krishna and Hercules is the fact that they were both black. So Hercules was a so-called black man, which would mean Samson was a so-called black man. Now you would say, I know those that are still watching, you would say, so what happened to Greece? BBC News. What happened to Greece? Okay, how did the Greeks become so-called Caucasian? How did the Greeks become white? I'll tell you how. First, we're gonna prove that the Macedonians are Edomites, and the Macedonians are so-called Caucasians. We're going to go through this right now. Genesis 36:12. And Timnah was concubine of Eliphaz, Esau's son, and she bare to Eliphaz Amalek. These were the son of Ada, Esau's wife. So the grandson of Esau is Amalek. 1 Samuel 15:32. Then says Samuel, 1 Samuel 15:32. Then says Samuel, bring ye hither to me Agag, the king of the Amalekites. And Agag came unto him delicately, and Agag said, surely the bitterness of death is past. So Agag was the king of the Amalekites. Why is that important? Because Agag, there's going to be something known as an Agagite, which goes back to the term Agag, which is an Amalekite. Esther 3:1. After these things did King Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, and advance him and set his seat above all the princes that were with him. So Haman was an Agagite. An Agagite is an Amalekite. Okay? Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite. Esther 9:24 says that as well. Well, in additions of Esther, we find out that the Agagites are Macedonians. Additions to Esther 16:10. For Haman, a Macedonian, the son of Hammedatha, so he was really a Macedonian, because the son of Hammedatha, Agagite, Haman, a Macedonian, the son of Hammedatha, being indeed a stranger from the Persian blood, and far distant from our goodness, and as strangers perceived of us. So Haman was a Macedonian, okay, which was an Agagite, which is an Amalekite, which goes back to being a grandson of Esau, who is an Edomite. Okay, this is Esther 16:14. For by these means he thought, finding us destitute of friends, to have translated the kingdom of the Persians to the Macedonians. So Haman was a plant to be a representative of Persia so he could overthrow them and give his kingdom to his people, the Macedonians, which were Amalekites. All right, if I'm making sense. Now that brings me to Alexander the Great, or I call him Alexander the Freak. Alexander the Greek, Alexander the Macedonian. All right, his father was Philip II. Now, you go to 1 Maccabees chapter 1, it states, and it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, see, son of Philip, Alexander the Great, his father Philip. It happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chedum, has smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece. So during the time of Alexander the Great, which is in 356 BC, the Macedonians occupied the place known as Greece. He became the first over Greeks. That's where you get the new Greeks, because before that you had the Dorian Greeks. So Alexander was the first to reign over Greece. He was the first Macedonian king, which would be an Amalekite, which is an Edomite. And we know that Alexander the Great was a so-called white man. Macedonia took over Greece. Greece later on became Rome. And the Romans were also known as the Edomites. This is a book titled Dictionary of Judaism in the Biblical Period by Jacob Nesner. Okay? Shout out to Council of the Wise. Ancient Romans were Edomites according to the rabbinic writings. Edom. We're going to go down to here. Edom. Edom is compared to a pig and to an eagle, as is Rome. And Edom, Seir, and Esau are all symbols for Rome. So the Romans were, in fact, Edomites. The Romans were Caucasians. Okay, so that's how Greece and Rome got mixed in, or that's how the so-called Greeks and Romans became white, just to put it like that. Okay, and from that perspective, that gets a new term to the term Jew and Greek. Romans 10 and 12, where it says, for there is no difference between the Jew and the Greek, for the same Lord over all is rich unto all that call upon him. A lot of people try to quote this, there's no difference between the Jew and the Greek. Listen, those are nationalities, okay? Eastern Bible Dictionary, Jew. First of all, let's deal with the term Jew. Eastern Bible Dictionary, the name derived from the patriarch Judah, at first given to one belonging to the tribe of Judah or the separate kingdom of Judah. So Jew goes to the tribe of Judah, which is the southern kingdom. 2 Chronicles 11 and 17. So they strengthened the kingdom of Judah and made Rehoboam the son of Solomon strong 3 years. For 3 years they walked in the way of David and Solomon. So the kingdom of Judah is the southern kingdom. Israel was broke up into two kingdoms, the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom. Ephraim was the chief tribe of the northern kingdom, and the southern kingdom's chief tribe was Judah. Okay, and the southern kingdom consisted of 3 tribes, mostly, which was Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Okay? And just to prove that the house of Judah and the house of Israel are two different things. So when someone is called a so-called Jew, that is just meaning he's someone relating to, he's a Judean, someone related to the southern kingdom. Jeremiah 3 and 18. In those days the house of Judah shall walk with the house of Israel, and they shall come together out of the land of the north to the land that I have given for an inheritance unto your fathers. So we will be unifying again, but the house of Judah and the house of Israel were two separate kingdoms. Okay, now going, so that's we deal with the word Jew, right? Now I'm gonna go to the word Greek. A lot of people think Greek means Caucasian. No. Okay? Greek, Eastern Bible Dictionary. The latter meaning properly, one who speaks Greek is a foreign Jew opposed to a home Jew who dwelt in Palestine. So a Greek could be a foreign Jew. You understand? Smith's Bible Dictionary, a Grecian. The term Grecian or Hellenist denotes a Jew by birth or religion who spoke Greek. So you don't have to be a so-called white man to be a Greek. Okay, Paul was a Roman. Remember, Paul was mistaken for an Egyptian. Well, Paul was also a Roman, but we know that Paul was an Israelite. You go to Acts chapter 22, it states, and as they bound him with thongs, Paul said unto the centurion that stood by, is it lawful for you to scourge a man that is a Roman and uncondemned? So Paul tells him, hey man, you gonna scourge me? I'm a Roman. When the centurion heard that, he went and told the chief captain, saying, take heed what thou doest, for this man is a Roman. So Paul was a Roman. That was his citizenship. Okay, he was somebody that spoke Greek as well. Well, we know that Paul also was an Israelite. Romans 11 and 1. I say then, hath God cast away his people? God forbid, for I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. Okay, point blank. Okay, now speaking of how did Israelites become Greeks? Well, you go to 2 Maccabees 6 and 6. It says, Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient fasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. So you weren't even allowed to call yourself a Jew, a Judean. In the day of the king's birth, every month they were brought by bitter constraint to eat their sacrifices. They sacrificed swine, by the way. And when the fast of Bacchus was kept, the Jews were compelled to go in procession of Bacchus, carrying ivy. And by the way, the term Bacchus goes back to Bakush, which means son of Cush. That's because Bacchus was black. That's what he told you in that book, Anacalypsis. He said what? Bacchus was one of the people he included as black. But anyway. Moreover, there went out a decree to the neighbor cities of the heathen by the suggestion of Ptolemy against the Jews, that they should observe the same fashions and be partakers of their sacrifices, and whoso would not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles should be put to death. Then might a man have seen the present misery. Okay? So it was illegal to call yourself a Jew, and you had to go through the manners of the Gentiles. You had to become a Gentile. That's how we became Greeks. That's how the Israelites became Greeks. Foreign Jews, Israelite foreigners. Okay? And the process of this is known as Hellenization. Hellenization is the adoption of Greek culture, religion, language, and identity by non-Greeks. Yeah. Okay? The spread of Greek culture that had begun after the conquest of Alexander the Great in the 4th century BC. See, after Alexander the Great. See, keyword after. That's when Greece became so-called inhabited by quote-unquote Caucasians, which really were Amalekites. Okay? And Hellenization takes place today. It's called Americanization. Americanization, the action of making a person or thing American in character or nationality, like African American, Latin American, Native American, Asian American. It's Americanization. Americanization means assimilation into the American life of the community. Okay, Americanization. That's why you got these so-called black patriots, and you got them, Black Lives Matter. Okay, you got these so-called black patriots. They've been Americanized, which really means they've been indoctrinated. Indoctrination. The process of teaching a person or group to accept a set of beliefs uncritically. Indoctrination is the process of inoculating a person with ideas, attitude, cognitive strategies, or professional methodologies. It's indoctrination. They had something in that known as boarding schools. You had something known as a Native American boarding school. Indian boarding schools were found to eliminate traditional American Indian ways of life and replace them with mainstream American culture. Yeah, Americanization, the new form of Hellenization. Okay, so that's it on that video, man. Hopefully it was edifying. It was all over the place, but the point is, yes, Etruria was black before Rome. Okay, the original inhabitants of the Roman Peninsula were so-called black. This is Black Before Rome once again. With that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father, the Most High Yahawah, in the name of His only begotten Son, yahawashi. Yahawah is the name of the Heavenly Father, who is commonly known as God. Yahawashi is the Savior of the nation of Israel, who is commonly known as Jesus Christ. I want to say Shalom, which means peace to you people that were listening and learning, to you brothers that's doing this work, truth, sincerity, and to you elders that's been doing this thing before me. I'm going to keep doing this history, man, because it's what I like to do. I'm going to keep exposing things because it's what I like to do. I am a history buff, and real history is vast, man. Don't believe the things these people be telling you, man, because if you do, you're gonna be lost, confused, lost in the sauce, and calling yourself after the color of a fucking crayon like black. Okay, even though this dude on screen is brown. Okay, so with that, I say shalom, peace.